Hi guys, welcome back to Infinite Possibilities, the podcast where we explore the lives of amazing people, their choices, challenges and opportunities. And today I have a very special guest, Maria.
Hi.
Hi, do you want to do like a 2-sentence introduction about yourself?
Sure, my name is... Do you need a full name? Because that's going to be an interesting version in itself.
Go for it.
So, you know me as Maria, probably.
Yeah.
My surname is longer.
Okay, perfect.
Golubovskaya.
Wow.
And not many people can pronounce it, but my full name by passport in Russia would be Maria Viktorovna Golubovskaya.
Wow.
And Viktorovna is, so it's a dad's paternal name basically, plus the ending to it depending on which gender you are.
Wow.
So Victor is my dad's name, hence I'm Viktorovna.
Wow.
My brother would be Viktorovich. So a little bit different ending, but my full name is probably a little bit more to what you expected.
Yeah, say the whole thing again.
Maria Viktorovna Golubovskaya.
Wow. But that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is indeed. Mouthful too, but...
Yeah, yes.
So I am, who am I? I have so many different hats and roles, but you mostly know me from UK Business School.
Yeah.
I've been a facilitator for a couple of classes this semester. I'm also a PhD student. In the past, I had a full-time contract as a level A. I have a number of research positions, like research assistant positions at GQ. And I've been on a number of panels, committees over years. So I've been there 10 years.
Wow.
Actually. So I have quite a bit of a history with EQ.
Yeah. And what do you hope that people know you like best for? One thing.
That I am a reliable, intelligent researcher slash teacher of different descriptions and different types who they can always rely and go to, and I can help with different things. I think I'm still trying to figure out my complete identity, especially within academia. And at this point in time, I'm considering leaving academia for a couple of years so I can come back with a bit different, yet again, identity and self-perception as well.
Wow, that sounds awesome. We will dig into that a bit later.
Okay.
Yeah, but I want to start from the beginning. So Maria, like when you were in high school, what kind of child were you like?
Look, I was very busy child. I had 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week of subjects. Russian education system is quite intensive. Like it's intensive, but it also intense in that you have a lot of homework to do, so you don't come from school and you have time to spare. You have to prepare for the next day. And I also was dancing 5-6 days a week. So that would keep me busy, and then on the weekends it was a tradition of ours to get in the car and go to the country house where my grandparents are currently living. So between all of those things, I really didn't have much time beyond exercise and education, so I was very focused, I think, child. I was boy-like girl as well.
Yes. Tomboy.
Yeah, a bit of tomboy in summers, spending times in the camps, like camping with friends of mine, going by bicycle or by foot. So sometimes it would be a long distance walking with camping gear and heavy backpacks and all. Sometimes it would be by bicycle, but that's where you make lifelong friends.
Yeah.
So that's probably would be the only kind of another element to my life during the high school years that I guess formed and shaped who I am and my character. But other than that, it was mostly education and dancing.
Yeah, cool. What kind of dancing?
So it was mostly classical choreography, so ballet dancing in the beginning, but then we ventured out into more modern dances and jazz dance, and never done hip hop, but it was mostly contemporary choreography by the end of my high school at least.
Yeah, was it something that you were like passionate about, or was it something like your parents just sent you to?
My parents originally sent me to it, but then it became such an identity of mine and such a big part of my life that it was intrinsically connected to me. And if anything, it was hard to then, once the decisions had to be made about my future, had to choose which pathway to go. I never was exceptional dancer, but I was solid, one of those who don't necessarily have a lot of like inbuilt talent, but just put so much, work in it and labor in it that you become at least consistent, if not great. So, and again, you build a community around you. So it was a big part of who I was and the friends you've made and the community you build around that activity. So. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite dance? I'm guessing ballet. I can imagine you as a ballerina now. Now that you said that. Yeah.
My favorite dance. Right now, I stopped dancing as much. I only do sometimes salsa and bachata just for fun.
Yeah.
But as far as seeing things goes and just going out and watching things, I probably would always prefer ballet over anything else. But modern choreography contemporary choreography is also would be the second probably.
Yeah, that's cool.
Best.
And am I right to say that you had a brother?
I have a brother who lives in Canada. That's right.
Oh wow! And is he older?
He's younger.
He's younger.
6 years younger than me. Yes.
Oh wow, that's cool. Because I was thinking you said you were like a tomboy, so I was like, maybe there's like an influence of a brother.
No influence
but not
from
really.
brother whatsoever. No, it was just. I think the way I was raised a little bit as a child. My granddad, I think, always wanted a boy.
Yeah.
And from the beginning, I was kind of given the axe to work with and nails to put in the walls, and we were building tree houses, and I was also surrounded by boys. I actually always had boys mostly as friends in my childhood, so I had a lot of influence from my friends who were boys, and playing football, volleyball, camping, relying on boys mostly again, yes.
That's so cool because, you'll be dancing ballet, but then you'll also be kicking a football.
That's true. That's a good thing. I haven't even thought about it. Yes, there was a nice mixture to it. That's for sure. Yeah.
That's cool. And then so then throughout high school, did you have some sort of idea about maybe what you wanted to do as a career? If you ever thought about that kind of stuff?
I was, I think, on one hand realistic about the things that I didn't want to do and the things I didn't like and the things I wasn't great at, and also mostly subjects like history and Russian language and literature and, a lot of that. On the other hand, my parents are mathematicians, so I always had a stronger angle from maths and I wouldn't say science necessarily, but more quantitative, exactly the direction. But I didn't want to do what my parents wanted me to do, and that was either maths or economics or something quite IT oriented. So instead we negotiated the middle ground, which ended up to be management. So my bachelor degree ended up in management, but I always went into the high school not necessarily knowing what I wanted to do. I always was interested in psychology. I had a very soft generous and genuine curiosity for psychology, but I never had a chance to fully explore it. I don't want to blame anyone, but to a great extent, parents didn't help either because psychology was never perceived as something worth studying or was a science or is a thing because it's for mathematicians, I guess. It's a soft, fluffy thing, right?
Non-falsifiable.
Very much so. So there was a bit of a battle at some point, but again, because I'd never had a very strong direction, this is what I want to do, or this is the career. I was never career-oriented, I guess. That hasn't changed, actually. I never was career-driven. I think I just went a bit with the flow, but also being realistic about my strengths and weaknesses enough to choose the field at the end that I knew I could be okay at, or if try, maybe even grow interest in it. So it was a bit of a natural path, but without strong preferences or, highly driven path.
Yeah, that's interesting because you said that you were interested in psychology, but at the same time you were more like a quantitative kind of person rather than qualitative. How does that work?
I don't think that psychology is a qualitative thing necessarily.
Oh, actually,
right?
there's a lot of stats in it, right?
It's a very quantifiable science, if anything, with the amount of experiments you run, etc. It's a very quantifiable thing. So yes, I wouldn't put them in the one basket.
Yeah.
I also think to a great extent I should give a lot of credit to my parents who are mathematicians. So they've spent quite a bit of time with myself and my brother, like helping a little bit around homework and so forth, and really building a lot of credibility in math. That I think otherwise wouldn't be as natural to us. So they helped us a lot along the quantitative paths. And I think that, of course, played role in terms of where I was more comfortable within the high school curriculum.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that also meant that I was swayed artificially rather than organically towards certain thing that not necessarily was my thing. But over time, you kind of accept this is what you're better at. And other things I would love to explore, but, later down the track, I was able at the end of the day explore a bit of psychology on my own. Not probably still to the extent I'd love it to, but you find the ways.
Interesting. So when were you, what age were you starting to get interested in psychology, and what sort of made you drawn to it?
I think a friend of mine played quite a critical role, to be honest. So since middle school, high school, I had a friend who, she was one of those people who know, this is what I want to do for life. Another Maria, it's Russian obviously. She just, that's what her mom did, and she knew from 5th grade that psychology is the thing. So she was just powering through towards that target and that aim and goal. Not even considering for a second any other option. And it was admirable for me. And also, I think because she was so naturally passionate about that field, she was able to, passion is contagious.
Yeah,
so
rubs off on you.
Oh, totally. So just her talking and speaking and her explaining what she's read and the things she's interested in, it just slowly but steadily were captivating, and I completely just started being organically more curious about things like this. And I had opportunity, again, was her idea, to go to the 3-week intensive that was on Gestalt. And again, that was quite an immersive, unique one-in-a-lifetime experience of, immersing yourself in the field and in the community of people who are purposefully there to study, understand, and go through, I guess, the practice themselves. And I was just placed in the midst of it, and luckily my parents allowed me to go to that, and I'm very grateful for that. But again, that was such a great, unique experience that it was hard not to be swayed.
Yeah, so what kind of stuff did you do during that 3-week period, and what did you sort of gain from it? Did you understand yourself more, or?
I think a little bit of all of that. If anything, I realized that it wasn't just a soft and fluffy.
Yeah.
I still couldn't necessarily put it my words as eloquently as people who understand either therapy or know the theory and long history of psychology and all of the different streams of psychology that exist out there. But because I was part of that, I was immersed in it so much, I still felt not the consequence, but the impact it had on me was undeniable.
Yeah.
And the days were quite structured. We would have group therapy in the morning. We would go out and did some sort of small lectures, workshops. You would have one-on-one therapy there as well. There would be meditation classes.
Wow.
So it was a very well-run and very structured program, quite intensive because you're 3 weeks immersed in that. And it was a little bit of a different universe for me as well, because it was everything I didn't know about the world. Like, those people were so different from the environment I was in before, including my parents' friends, because those are the most common,
Yeah.
the environment I knew best.
Yeah.
So that was very refreshing, I think, and it certainly made an imprint on me. And I thought, one day I'm going to explore it a little bit more.
Yeah, that's cool. And what age were you at that time?
I think I was 15 or something.
Yeah, quite young.
Yeah, so it was still high school. It was definitely still high school. Maybe closer to 16, just before I graduated
Yeah.
high school, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
No, it was unique. It was certainly quite unique.
Yeah, and that's so cool your parents let you go to that thing.
I agree.
3 weeks, like, they would be a bit worried about, their child just...
Well, see, that's the benefit of you having a tradition of going camping.
Yeah.
Because they would be used to letting me go with some grown-ups, but mostly by myself, right? With people
Wow.
to long trips, and they're okay to just let you do that. Again, I think they had to know that it was a structured retreat, it was well-protected environment, they were grown-ups who were running it. So as long as 3 weeks might sound, at least it was in a less adventurous, again, environment than camping even. So no, nevertheless, you're right, I'm very grateful. That was a very kind gesture of them.
Yeah, that's cool. And just curious about, like, your friend who was passionate about psychology. Did she end up going into it? And
Yeah, very much so. But she transitioned out of it eventually. She started doing neuroprogramming.
Ooh.
So she's the opposite. She started with psychology. She did her bachelor degree in Moscow State University, which is the university, also very much known for psychology and how strong their program is. She then, I think she started her master's in Moscow. She might have even finished it. She worked as a psychologist. She published as a psychologist. But then she had an opportunity to move to Europe, and she started her master's degree in one of the small towns in Germany, I think. And she moved towards more math and then more programming type of coding.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely it becomes that neuro programming, which is a very complex area.
Yeah.
But she's completely thriving in it and she loves it. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, and then so throughout, like, primary school and high school, just wondering, were you very like on top of your academics, or were you like one of those straight A students, or what kind of student were you per se?
Wasn't a straight A. I was still too distracted by dancing, I think, and not genuinely interested in academia, full academia. So I was so passionate and so many other things I was doing that academia was just, yep, you need to do that thing. But my parents are perfectionists in many ways, so they always said, if you do something, do it well.
Yeah.
And if I brought home a mark which is not A grade, it would be why not A, right?
Yeah.
So that creates a bit of that sets a bar and a standard, and I knew that I was expected to do well. I would be not questioned if I'm not a fully A straight student, but if I had a C's or you know the grade which is not A and B, I've been that was not accepted basically. So my parents gave me the perception that you always can do better, and if you haven't, ask yourself carefully where you could have done better.
Yeah, is that like a lot of pressure as a child?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think over years I started being grateful for that pressure.
Yeah.
That's what sets you apart when you're grown up and again you have a high standard for yourself. So you can play it to your advantage very well, I think, eventually.
Yeah, that's cool. And what about in terms of personality? Were you very introverted, or were you outgoing because like you did a lot of extracurriculars and stuff?
I think I was more extroverted as a kid. I was very outgoing. I was very out there. I was very like open, not holding my tongue back, like not holding back at all, actually, sometimes getting in trouble for that. Just, being very confident, maybe compensating for lack of something else, but like seemingly very confident, always going well, like finding common language with not only boys and friends, but also grown-ups. Yeah. So I was always quite well positioned to be having conversation with anyone, basically. And that helped a lot, I think, as a kid.
Yeah, and so why are you more introverted then?
Look, that's a great question. I think the transition had happened a little bit when I moved to Australia.
Yeah.
I have a sense it was a combination of many things.
Yeah.
I think it was just revealing who you are, where you're at, and trying to dig a little bit deeper. And with that, maybe some closure, external closure has happened because you had to nose deeper. But I also worked in hospitality industry for not for too long, but for enough to start feeling like I need more of a me time just to, again, to protect yourself, because I've been doing full-time hospitality at a certain point in my life here. And it felt like I just miss me time.
Yeah.
And I think that initiated some of that transition.
Yeah.
Facilitated, if anything, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. But going back to, university, and then you reached a compromise, you studied management. Was that like, what was your major in the management?
So I had a project management major.
Yeah.
And in fact, when I finished my bachelor degree, I started already applying for Australian universities to do my master's here. But because of the different studying periods and in semesters, I had to start my master's in Moscow before I knew whether I would get into universities here. And my master's would have been in project management, like completely like cemented project management. Yeah.
So you would have done like bachelor in project management and master in project management.
It'll be bachelor in management, and by that I mean 4 years, 64 subjects. So our bachelor degree structure is quite different to yours. Again, that's where unique difference is. Probably we're not expected much to work during bachelor degree because you just don't have time.
Yeah.
And it's 6 days a week sometimes, and 64 subjects somehow you manage to put into a 4-year curriculum.
Yeah.
So it was intense and it was a lot. It was more of a holistic, comprehensive education with only the last year or year and a half targeted at more project management kind of field, but really it's 2.5, 3 years of everything, including philosophy and microeconomics.
Wow.
And it's comprehensive, and I'm a big believer that's what education should be. It should be that.
Holistic education.
I think so. Don't you?
Yeah, I think so, especially probably at the bachelor level. Because that was like a decision you made when you're like 16 or something,
Exactly.
what you wanted to study, but people change a lot. So it's important they know what's out there. Yeah.
And you try things. Not only you know that there is such thing as, philosophy or psychology or culturology. That was even one subject, culturology. Anyway, hi Diego.
Hi, so cute.
Getting in on the spotlight.
Yep, no
I like
worries.
the spotlight.
Yeah.
Try to have your best angle, Diego.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so I think ability to try them and just to familiarize yourself for at least a semester, understand, get a flavor, gives you a bit more, again, just understanding and options to choose from later in life.
Yeah, that's true. I think, people might be a bit like in a rush to specialize early because it somehow feels like you're being ahead of everyone, right? Then, yeah. But
Yeah, and especially here, people start working so early that, look, their work identity is so much more cultivated so much early in life that, there is a reason why I'm doing my PhD in what I'm doing. I was always fascinated how you as an adolescent not only asked to make a decision about what you want to study, but also you're already working and building that identity of yours before you figure out what you want to do with, education-wise and so forth. So there are so many choices, and, I see benefits to both systems. That was the only system I knew. And it was very comprehensive, good quality education during my bachelor degree, provided I had a good university though, so yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And just curious, how was the transition between high school and university for you like?
It was difficult, mostly because I had at that point to choose whether I want to do proper university, and that would mean giving up dancing, basically. So I couldn't sustain the amount of dancing I was doing and prepare myself to graduate from high school and get into quality university. There was a lot of extracurriculum, just extra preparation to get into the university I wanted to go to, which was Higher School of Economics. It's pretty well established and already well known in Moscow University that specializes in economics, management, and so forth. And I was once I realized this is the one, I just had to put, as everyone else in my grade, we all had to put way more extra time to really get ready for it. And at that point, the serious question was in front of me, do you want to dance or do you want to study? And at that point, I think giving up dancing, as a result of it, putting on 10 kilos as a girl, fighting the external image of self and not necessarily knowing whether it's worth it or not as well, giving up that and going for university, trying really hard and applying, and it was quite a journey. So it was quite a journey, and again, as with everything else, you're coming from one very well protected community into into the somewhat real world with a lot of new people, having to re-establish self, refine yourself. So that was of course a big step, a big decision. A few big decisions were made there, and I think as far as turning points in life go, that would be the first one probably, where the decision had to be made, either or. There was no much compromise.
Yeah, and was it always an obvious choice that you were going to go to university? So it was like a given you would give up dancing, or was there some sort of hesitation, dancing, maybe I could really make it work?
I think at a certain point there was a bit of hesitation because some people around me in my dancing community started preparing for actually dancing careers. And that's made you think, I'm like, if they're doing it, maybe I should as well, maybe I should entertain, but not really. And that I'm saying because you always, my biggest reference point is usually my parents, right?
Yes.
And both my parents and my grandparents, they're all university educated, very high achievers, etc. So probably not really. It was more of a what if kind of scenario in my head.
Like a fantasy.
More dreamy fantasy, exactly. But not a realistic, okay, let's really consider here. It was just more reconciling the need to give it up.
Yeah.
And what it means, and how you'll fulfill that time in your life with something else.
Yeah. And did you so once you give up something, you sort of have to find some sort of substitute to sort of keep going. Did you have a substitute for dancing?
Yeah, I had to find something else. I think I've tried a few things. One of them was actually trampoline jumping. So a few friends of mine at university, we decided to go and hire an instructor just for 4 of us, and we'd be doing the professional saltos and learning how to do all of that circus / just trampoline jumping for fun of it. I would have started. It wouldn't be later, but eventually I joined theater, and that was
cool.
more of a personal step towards overcoming my deepest fear of audience, being in front of the audience and stage fright. And I would join another dancing studio that would be dancing very different styles to what I'm used to, including burlesque and all of that. So that was quite a challenge for myself, just to put as well with, I guess, my personality, which was very classic and closed and, very conventional, if you want to say that. Now it had to be burlesque, very out there, very extravagant and all of that. So that was an interesting transition. So I've tried, I think, a few different things, and it would take me a while to kind of settle into the new routine, because of course when you interrupt a very well established routine over, I won't say a decade, it's quite a shock to your system.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you also mentioned stage fright. So like as a dancer, how did you cope with that when you were younger then? Or if you didn't?
Badly. So I tried so many tricks. I tried to take off my glasses so I
Yeah.
don't see the
Yeah.
dancing, like the audience in front of me, but that would backfire.
Yeah.
Because when you do the spins, you actually need one dot, like
Oh
you know
yeah,
the
you
one
one
you look
point
at.
to focus on.
Yeah, that was bad idea.
Yeah.
Because you don't see the point or anything in front of you. So it was just all blur, and yeah, that was not a good idea. That didn't work. I had, as part of the dancing, we also had to play piano because that would teach you how to have a better ear
Yeah.
and listen to the music and so forth. And those were the worst. So
Yeah.
I think when you're dancing as a group, you can still kind of relax a bit more because it's not only you and
Yeah.
everyone looks at you. It was the piano playing when I felt it the most. It's like
so when it's you and the piano.
and the audience. And that's where there were times when I would forget I would make a mistake, I would forget what I was playing, I would have that actual, stress and shock. And those were awful experiences.
Yeah, I
I
can
do
imagine.
not want to relive them. I don't remember how I survived. It's just one of those experiences where you want to, you feel like, okay, can I disappear now, please?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't want to be here. Can I run away? Can we pretend that never
Yeah.
happened? Please let me wake up and imagine that was a dream.
Yeah.
So I had a number of those experiences in my life just to know how that feels, and I was never comfortable on stage. And that progressed into university when during bachelor you had to do a lot of presentations. And oh man, when it's not your thing, and it was not my thing. So yeah, I think the theater was just a response mechanism. It's like, okay, we need to do something about it. This is not sustainable. We can't do that to ourselves. Such a negative shake up to the system. So yeah, I decided to go and fix it through theater.
Yeah, good on you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so does that sort of like affect your passion for like dancing? Because I can imagine like when you're training throughout the semester, maybe you're enjoying it, and then you're like, oh damn, showtime. So how could you still, I guess, love dancing when like a key component is like, I guess, the end of semester performance, term performance, exams?
I don't think it was the key component for me. I think the performance was just that you'll need to do it. I enjoyed the training more, and I enjoyed the routine of classes much more than the actual final performance.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of, because again, you're part of the group, you thrive on, the energy of others is contagious. So many other girls around me were excited about it.
Yeah.
That helped a little bit to numb down your nerves, etc.
Yeah.
And you always know that, the likelihood of someone looking just at you is very low. So your consciousness helps you a little bit to really like get rid of the stress, or at least ease it off. But yeah, it certainly, I don't think performances have stressed me enough to not love dancing. And then when, sorry about that.
That's okay.
He's just saying, enough petting, thank you.
Oh, okay.
I think when performances in later in my life, when I was already in bachelor with burlesque, etc., it became more of a personal challenge. It was like, okay, we were still stressed this time and couldn't just let it go and relax fully and move in the way we want to. Let's try it again, and it would be like one of those more conscious attempts every single time. Maybe try a different technique, maybe try to do something else, and you would just try and persevere through the fear, and the fear would still be there no matter what you're doing. So it was more of a conscious already work on it, So you're focused on trying to overcome it and trying different things. So you're focused more on that rather than stress itself.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and then back to university. So, you were always sure that you were going to do a master's, and how did you know that you wanted to go internationally?
That's a bigger question, because how did I know I wouldn't go internationally? Well, my family has a history with Australia. So I always knew that I always was told that Russia is not the only place to be in and live in. So please look outside, please explore other opportunities, all I was hearing all my life, especially from grandpa. So when I was 20, I think I was turning 20. It was my 20th birthday. He made me a present of us going together, him and my grandpa flying to Australia. It was my first trip to Australia back then, and it was for him to show me Australia and for me to trial it and see how I feel about it. And we went to Melbourne, Sydney, and Byron Bay. And I fell in love instantly, and I knew I wanted to come back. I knew I wanted to try here. And so when the question about masters, choice of master's programs was there, I just knew that, I have to try. And luckily, I'm very privileged that my parents could support me and financially support me. And I was able to come after all. But for me, it was almost always on cards inherently.
Yeah.
Sometimes less obvious than not, but I think the fact that I was expected to do masters, the fact that it was in Australia was all built up from probably when I was 18 onwards, when my grandpa was becoming more vocal about Russia is not the only place, look around yourself, go elsewhere, Australia, but also go outside Australia. So it was a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's cool. And so what did you study for your masters?
So I started my master's in Moscow, which I had to give up, which was project management, and I came here instead, which I meant to do project management as well.
Yeah.
And that didn't work. So they accepted me first, and then they rejected me. I had a very weird, interesting situation there.
Yeah.
Basically, a few days prior to my flights, I received the second letter saying, "Oh, sorry, we realized you don't have enough of managerial experience to study in project management here, so you have to choose something else."
Oh.
And that was a bit of a shock, because at the time you have everything on your hands. You have flights, you have tickets, you have, like the whole thing, you're ready. And all of a sudden, I was faced with a choice to change a program, change a university, to change a city. Like, what do you do? To cancel the whole trip?
Change university? I thought you could have the same university and just apply.
Well, that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah.
I basically stick to UQ, and I decided instead to do Masters of International Hotel and Tourism Management.
Oh, and how did you come to that decision?
I always loved traveling, and I love hotels. And I wanted to be in Australia nevertheless, regardless, that hiccup with my master's program that I was applying for. So it was a bit of not random, it was a decision that was not probably the most practical, but it was a convenient one. And I knew that regardless, it would get me into Australia.
Yeah.
And I knew that hotel management, I genuinely was always interested in hotels because I love skiing, and every year would go skiing, and I was always amazed how those chalets, small businesses survive there in Alps, and I was always fascinated for some of those business models, particularly looking at the small boutique hotels.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, well, this is something at least I'm passionate on the side as a hobby. Maybe I can turn it into something I'm actually genuinely interested in. So I didn't know what I was subscribing for, to be honest. And for such a late moment change, I couldn't process it before I came.
Yeah.
It was all about how do I get visa on time, how I'm going to get flights, what I'm going to do when I land here, where is accommodation, how does the transport work, where will I get my SIM card when I arrive. You're so in that mode that whatever happened to that hiccup with my program didn't matter at the time. All mattered that I have visa for Australia and I can leave to go to Australia, and that was much more important than what I'm going to do once I land.
Oh, that's interesting, because as long as the direction is correct, then the specifics can be altered.
Pretty much. And that's kind of, I went with the flow.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of curious about like that moment when you received the email, like you have to change programs, like how did you deal with it emotionally, like all the uncertainty, and like how long did it take you to get over it and then switch into action mode?
Didn't take me long at all. I think because I was so unprepared for what to expect. My English was not anywhere close to where it is right now. I was struggling. My first semester was the hardest. I've spent nights literally in the library. I was knowing amongst staff members at UQ, embarrassingly so,
Yeah.
for literally, yes, sleeping and studying and being there 24/7. But also, I was amazingly lucky to meet the best people in my first semester.
Yeah.
People who then became, my colleagues and who now continue to be my supervisors, people I publish with, and I'm still really basically they became friends over time of mine. So it was a unique experience of something that was so random and so coincidental to turn into that was a turning point, right?
Yeah.
Another turning point to become a destiny. I just once you meet a person who, I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like once you meet a right person who you click with and who you see you can learn from, it changes. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're basically going for the person because you can learn and grow.
Yeah.
And that was my experience in the first semester. I've met a couple of professors who I knew I could continue working with, and I eventually was given opportunities to do so in various capacities. So it kind of all fell into place really seemingly from that point of view. It's more so the first semester I was so in the mode of I need to make it work. It's really hard. English is not helpful. Like all of the academic terminology, I'm so not familiar with. It's like the whole second different English language in itself. So I was in the mode of survival and doing good and doing well. And for the first time in my life, I wanted it. I genuinely wanted to do well at university. Prior to that, I was like, I'm just going with the flow and I'm not sure how I'm going to apply it in the future. Here, I was on a mission. I was on a mission to stay in Australia for the first time in my life. It was like fully my decision. I wanted it so badly. I wanted to succeed and to make it work. And I think it's having that intrinsically driven goal that turned it into, I was a machine. I was like, I don't see anything. I'm just going towards after that goal. So it was surprisingly, I was fine to recover from hiccup with the change in the program.
Yeah.
The fact that I've met amazing people during first semester helped it, but I was just so not even thinking about all of that. I was just on a mission from there on to get my citizenship, to get good grades, to succeed in the university, to do well, and to find job and all of that, to basically build my life from scratch here and do it myself and do it well.
Yeah, that's crazy. And did you enjoy the content itself in tourism, or was it like, I know professors have like a big influence. You like the professor, who cares about the content?
A little bit of that happened. Definitely a little bit of that happened. But I also was fascinated. I honestly was fascinated because to me it was like, we're going to talk about tourism and hotels and how difficult it's going to be. And to my surprise, it was, again, quite an eye-opening experience with a lot of complexity and understanding how complex that ecosystem of tourism and hospitality is, how unique the nature of the industry is, how many interesting topics and issues you can continue unpacking within that specific program. So I think I was pleasantly surprised more than anything.
Yeah.
That was a pleasant surprise. Didn't expect that.
Oh, that's cool. I'm also conscious of time. Maybe we'll do a part 2.
Maybe we'll do part 2.
Gotta skip to the deep questions with around 3 minutes left. So one is, in your opinion, Maria, what do you think the meaning of life is for you?
The meaning, that's an easy question. In my opinion, the meaning of life. Have you read Viktor Frankl?
Oh, yes. Man's Search for Meaning, yeah.
I'm not gonna go there, but to me the meaning of life is about continuing to explore things that within your reach and always continue to strive to look beyond what's in your reach. It's about seeing opportunities beyond what's possible again. And I think I continue to still work out who I am, leave alone what's the meaning of life is.
Yeah.
For me, for now, I think because of where I'm at in my life, the stage of my life, the place of my life, and all, it's about continue to explore all the opportunities that is given to you by this life. continue to be grateful and not forgetting that we can always give back. So trying to also do something to return.
Yeah.
A lot of things that I don't consider favor, but a lot of things I'm grateful for.
Yeah, that sounds good. And also, just kind of curious, what's your like perfect day in the life for you?
Perfect day in the life. That's where I feel a lot of idiosyncrasies exist in my mind. On one hand, it would be with my family. On the other hand, it would be in Australia. What do you think about that one? So I think I'm still struggling to reconcile to a great extent. The
You can't have it all.
inachievable, yes, and also the impossible. I think one day I strive to have it all.
Yeah.
For now, I will go with, if we are in Australia, it's going to be a very well-paced day. And that's what I was been struggling with for the last of 10 years living in Australia. I've been like a hamster on that roll, you know, keep running so fast, you forget to breathe.
Yeah.
And for the first time in life right now, I am learning to slow down and be okay with that. Be comfortable in peace and quiet and slow motion. And that comes as a challenge more so for now, but I enjoy it at the same time. So I'm learning to do it now. So well-paced day where you don't have to rush and enjoy rest and not feeling like you have to do something. And not feel guilty for not doing something, just being in the moment. Being on the beach is amazing. Of course, might as well use the fact that we're living in Australia. But again, the big thing is missing here for me, and that's family. So I would say it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's hard to call it perfect.
Yeah, but just do your best.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And you know, there's always opportunities for the future yet again to bring the impossible a little bit closer to being possible, hopefully one day.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, we're at 45 minutes, so I better
Thank
let you
you.
go.
Very good time management, Karen.
No worries. Don't want you to be rushed, you know.
No, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sounds good. Well, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.